Chairman Weiser, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with Right Michigan today. I want to start off with the big race of the moment, and that's the special election in the 19th District. It's a Democratic seat. It's been a Democratic seat for years in a state that continues to trend to the left. Do we have a shot?
We have more than a shot. I think we have a great opportunity. The Republican Party has always done well with special elections, and that's because special elections are all about turnout, and we do a better job in the past, and I expect we'll do that same kind of job in this current environment in making sure our voters get out in this election. It's going to take a lot of work. We're going to need everybody across the state working on this. We're going to need money from across the state. We're going to need volunteers from across the state. This is a statewide effort because this is an extraordinarily important race.
Obviously, Right Michigan is read by many activists across the state. How can we help? How can the folks who blog every day on Right Michigan, the folks who are involved online and doing the new media thing, how can they help pick this seat up?
Well, most everybody in the state has a network of people around them, and many of them have direct relationships with people who are in Calhoun or Jackson counties. They need to talk to those people and make sure they get out to the polls, not especially, if they're going to vote for our candidate. That's one way. The other is to find others who are willing to help inside of that district. We're going to need lots of people to knock on doors. We're going to need lots of people to man the 139 different precincts and municipalities. So there's going to be work available for anybody who wants to be part of this process.
Why did you want to do this? Why did you want to take on these sorts of headaches? You've got an amazing background. Hopefully we'll get into that in a minute. But why step away from the various things you've done and get involved in politics in this way?
I care about the future of Michigan. It's that simple.
Now you look out across the state, which you care about. We've got budget deficits. We've got some of the companies that we thought we'd never see go away, going bankrupt. 7 years of Democratic leadership. What's your impression of the leadership we've seen in the last 7 years, and how do we switch that around? How do we go forward?
Well, they haven't been there 7 yet. They've only been there about 6.5. But I don't think we're going to see any change in the last year and a half they're in power. I think that the decisions that have been made in this state have been influenced too much by special interest groups. I believe that the decisions have been made have not been focused. There's been no strategy. There's been a lot of picking of winners and losers. There have been a lot of tactics that have been thrown out in a variety of different directions, but with no focus on changing Michigan into what it will need to become a prosperous state again.
We've got just about every race is up in 2010. We've got the governor's race, lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general.
It's all of them. You don't have to go through them. Every one of them is. Those haven't come together like that as they have in this particular election in many, many years, especially with no incumbents or virtually no incumbents in any of the races.
So opportunity abounds.
Yes.
What's your impression of your party's field of candidates?
I think we have a great field of candidates, and the one nice thing about it is that we at least have choices. On the Democrat side, it looks like they'll figure out who their Secretary of State and Attorney General is, and they'll do it in a back room. Probably not smoke-filled anymore, but it will be a back room. And on the governor's race, they seem to have already anointed a single candidate. So we have 6 good candidates who have indicated an interest in this race, and I think our people will have a choice to pick the one that can best lead the state in the future.
What's the biggest challenge facing our candidates going into 2010? What's
the biggest challenge facing our candidates? Well, you know, when you have an election, when you say candidates, it depends on the race. But all of our statewide races have a lot of candidates, and that always makes it more of a challenge because you're going to have people who will be local favorites in their regions and so forth. So there's a lot of work to be done by all of our candidates to make sure that they are able to express to the voters who will elect them what their positions are and what they think has to be done to transform the state.
We mentioned before a diverse background, and a lot of folks are still just getting to know you. In your own words, who's Ron Weiser? What do you bring to this?
Well, you best ask my wife that question. She can answer it a lot better than I can. But I bring back a lot of different things. I mean, I've said this a number of times. if you have a company, and I was involved with companies for 34 years, if you have a company and it's being run really well, but it's losing money, you have to change it or else it'll go out of business. And in our case, our Republican Party in Michigan has not been winning. And so we're bringing about some changes that we think are going to allow us to have a different result than we've had in the last few cycles.
Now, obviously, it's a results-oriented business. It's win or go home. There are a lot of different ways to do that, a lot of different tactics, different options folks can choose. What's your vision for the party and the way you guys are going to operate this cycle?
Well, I think the main thing is to understand how we've done it in the past in general sense, not tactically, but in a general sense. And it's like a startup company in a lot of ways. But what we've done in the past, it's kind of a J curve, a lazy J curve in the past. And we start here right after the election, you go down for 3 or 4 months and nobody does anything. They just kind of either lick their wounds or celebrate their victories. And then afterwards you start a gradual upturn until you get to a few months before the election, and then you start going straight up. And I don't think, in my opinion, that that kind of a foundation gives you what you need to win elections. All the work you do to get out the vote won't help if the election's not close. So you have to make sure that the election is close or that we are ahead if we're going to win. And to me, that J curve has to be really a straight J, going straight up after the election lull takes place, and keep going straight up for the 20 months until the election time. Because as with a company, in a company you try to get it to a break even before you run out of money, and then after that you grow based upon the resources you have. And in our case, our goal is all focused on one day, as you said. I mean, on that day we make all of our profit, or we have all of our loss, and then the next day we start the same J curve again.